Hello, hello, everyone. We decided to try something new.
Because we're always trying something new.
So, Sonya had a lovely brass bowl with her, singing bowl, and so she hit it. And the first one before we turned the mic on was like long and lovely and beautiful.
Yep.
And then the next two were just kind of short and meager. And, maybe that's because that's where we are right now.
Oh, God, I was going to say, and what a perfect analogy for life.
So, welcome to In My Experience podcast. I'm Piperlyne.
And I'm Sonya Lee.
And we are here.
So over Mercury retrograde.
We are here struggling
That's what we're here doing.
through the last days of the shadow of Mercury retrograde.
Mm-hmm.
And I have, if you have been listening for the past couple of weeks, I have bemoaned my personal experience of Mercury retrograde this time around. Yeah.
To the bitter end.
It's not letting up. It's going to hang on until its last shuddering breath. So hello, everyone. Hello.
I can't even. It took us, a little bit longer than usual. Maybe not. I don't even know. Because I'm so confused. And there's just I have no words. So we're like, well, let's just turn it on and start talking and see what we can have. So I'm just giving you fair warning. This might not be my best week. Just saying.
But often we will start out podcasts thinking that, and then it'll turn into something amazing.
True.
But we may lay no claims at that.
This week, I don't know if that's actually going to work.
We're both staring at each other through these bleary red eyes and
drinking lukewarm tea.
Not hot, not cold.
Yep. Let me sage.
Little sage in the room
right
a couple
here.
of times here.
Ooh.
So here we are. How are you doing? How are you, everyone listening? How has this past week been for you? Are you sleeping? Are you having dream issues? Because, yeah.
We just hit summer, like solstice here in North America. The other, a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
21st,
About,
20th,
yeah.
something. I don't know. Whatever.
Do
you see what I'm dealing with?
Working on 2 weeks.
Working on 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so now we're into July. And so I would like to say that we're in the dog days of summer, but we're not because summer's only been here for like 2 weeks. And yet, here in Arizona, it feels like the dog days of summer.
Well, all over our country right now.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's really hot.
Somewhere had 120, like a non-desert, non-Arizona space, had 120, 121 in like last week.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
I have memories of when we hit that shit
Right,
here.
right.
And we're
And I stayed
much
in the
more
house.
prepared for it.
We are. We got AC everywhere.
Yes.
That's the thing. It was like, how can you stand it? Well, you walk in Circle K, it's blasting you with the cold air. You walk into it doesn't matter. Anywhere you go, there's AC here.
Right.
And having lived in Southern California, that's not true.
No, and the Pacific Northwest,
Right.
that is not
There's a lot
true
of places
either.
in this country where they just don't need AC like that.
Right.
Right? Open a window, turn on a fan.
Absolutely.
So it's been brutal, for a lot of people dealing with this heat. But I just feel like there's also, there's just a general malaise.
hanging up. Are you sure it's not all of our fires currently going on?
It could be the smoke from the fires. But it's just, I'm tired, I'm confused, I would say cranky, but I'm not really cranky. I'm just a little bemused. Bemused. See, I can't even say it. Bemused.
Ba.
And
that makes me think of that movie with Goldie Hawn, Overboard.
oh yeah,
When she's sitting there after spending the day with the kids, and she's sitting on the porch, and
going
she's
buh,
just
buh,
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 buh.
buh, 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 buh. She's doing it again.
anyone resemble that? Because I feel like I've been there.
Oh, so true.
Yeah.
And it's just, we were talking about some of the alignments that are happening over the weekend, the 4th of July weekend, and there's a lot of planets. It's like, a carousel. Everybody's sitting somewhere around 13 degrees.
I got the lion.
Right. Except for the few that are out of bounds. So it's like you're either out of bounds or you're in line.
Mm-hmm.
How do you like that for a metaphor? Kind of like our life. And a lot of things that are happening in it that I'm not going to go into because they're political in nature. And I just don't care enough to have that conversation.
No.
But you can let your imagination run.
You can do what you want to do with that.
But so we're either out of bounds or we're getting in the swing of things. And then one of these astrologers that I follow was talking about that it's time to get the show on the road. And I concur. Yes, hear, hear.
Singing
Let's
bowl
set
agrees.
that intention right there
Get
with
the
the
show
singing
on
bowl.
the road.
Let's get the show on the road. What show? I don't know. Something different from the dog days of summer, where you're home and you're just bored and you can't even believe you're saying it, but you're ready for school to start. That's what the kids and the parents are saying. Everyone's in agreement. It's time to do something. And for us here in Arizona, our entire state's shut down because we've got 2,700 fires going or something.
Absolutely.
And
it is that amount.
23, but it could be more, it's more than that. And, in the summertime, we live to get up into the mountains or go someplace, higher, seek a higher level instead of a lower level.
Someplace that is not Phoenix metro area.
And so to not be able to go anywhere because, with the entire state shut down, it's just, it's creating that challenges.
Well, yeah, I mean, we have been sitting inside, and this is similar to last year. The thing is, I mean, we did this last year too.
Yes.
Sat,
oh, yes, we did.
Yes, we did. Sat inside with the blinds drawn and the air condition cranking and not going outside because, well, for a lot of the summer there was nowhere to go.
Right. There wasn't anywhere to go.
There was nowhere. I mean, you went to the grocery store.
Yeah.
And that's what you did.
And only if you were the designated person
to go to the
out,
grocery
right?
store, right.
And, the kids couldn't go hang out and play with their friends. And, everybody knows that drill. So here we are, kind of doing it again, year
it's
2.
It's feeling similar to me.
Yeah.
It's feeling similar to me. And it's funny, I live in a complex with a bunch of townhomes. And so my brother has been visiting, and he spends a lot of time outside. I have absolutely no idea. I mean, he's in the shade. I have absolutely no idea how he can handle it because I go outside for 10 minutes and I want to cry. I can't handle the heat anymore. But he's out there. So then we had the maintenance people call us this week and ask us who the older gentleman sitting on our patio was. Well, we've noticed, and we just wanted to know, like, they hadn't seen us. They just saw him. And he's like the only person who's ever outside on the patio. No one is ever outside in where we live, ever. Right. And I'm like, oh, you mean my brother? They're like, your brother? Yes, he's my brother. Why does he sit outside? I don't know. Yeah.
Because if he's like me, he can't be inside.
And I mean, yeah.
It's either that it's just tired of being inside the house and need to be out in nature. And my backyard is the nature in which I live at this moment. Or the other thing for me is I just don't like the artificial cold air from the AC. So like in my house, I'm walking around wearing jackets and things like that until I have a hot flash and then I rip them off. So, but I am, and they all laugh at me because they're like, I can't believe you're cold. It's hot in here. And I'm like, yeah, it's anything but hot in this house. So it's, I understand your brother. I understand where he's coming from.
Well,
maybe he's just needing that fresh air and doesn't like that fake air. And that's the other thing that we get to contend with. It's like people in Alaska, when they get that cabin fever from spending the long winters. We do the same thing here in the summer.
Right.
We get cabin fever from being locked up in our houses for so long.
Right.
And if you're still trying to practice some physical distancing, then you're not doing also the normal things. Although I was in a mall a couple of weeks ago because I had to go in to sneak in to find something, create a little wormhole. And I was amazed. I was gobsmacked at the number of people that were in this mall.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, wow. I thought nobody had any money.
People don't care.
And then
they just need to be out.
We had our sons, our Phoenix Suns, win, you know, the playoffs. So they're moving forward, which is great.
They're in the finals now.
We moved back here. I've been here off and on since '76, but we moved back here in '94, and that was the last time that they were in the national championships, '93. And I remember my sons, my children, my boys, saying, you know, so who are these Phoenix Suns? Because every window, every car, everywhere we went, there was a Phoenix Sun sign or a Go Sun sign written on their thing. Like, it was everywhere.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, that's, you know, the basketball team and da-da-da-da. And, of course, they liked playing basketball and football and sports and whatnot. And so it's just funny now to see them as adults, you know, losing their minds over this, what's happening with this franchise, and taking that back to that 25 or so years ago when we were here. Actually, it's probably more than that now. It's probably popping up on 30 years. But anyway.
Well, so, I was working for America West at the time, and I actually met all of them because they chartered through us and flew on us publicly. You were there
when the people stormed. They had so many people in the terminal.
Oh, yeah.
Remember the fans? Because this was before you couldn't go all the way to the gate. And so many people stormed there to meet them when they were getting off the plane that they like had to shut down the terminal.
Yeah, it was
crazy.
We don't have, our sports teams don't really do wins.
Not like
here
that.
In Arizona.
Not like that.
We have long times and then we get maybe one or two. Right. So,
but my point in bringing that up was that as I was watching, because they interrupted, you know, the channel, breaking news, and this was that, you know, that they had won, and so they were on every channel, and they were interviewing people in bars and at, you know, the stadiums and places like that.
Right.
And I mean, everybody
Packed
was within,
full.
and they were within inches of each other,
Absolutely.
like literally cheek to cheek, so that they could be seen in the, you know, TV screen. And I just laughed at that because that was like, you know, I could just hear some people's heads, you know, in other parts of the country or even in our own state just exploding over, you know, the lack of safety protocol and all of that. This is what happens when you lock people down for a long time.
They come back up.
Especially, I mean, think about it. I cannot tell you how much I heard, and I got a lot of men in my life, you know that, because I had 5 sons, and they just wanted their sports back.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't even playing. Somebody, look, you give us our sports, or we're going to take back to hunting and, you know, fighting in the Coliseums again. Remember those days? Battle epics, juggernauts. And so what I saw that night was like, and now they've got their sports back. You know, it was like that was official. Because let's face it, the football season was lame this last year.
Yeah.
So this was like the first official, woohoo, we're back. We're just back, baby. You know, and it just made me think about all the other scenarios of like, and I wouldn't even say, you notice I didn't say normal. I think we're weary. You know,
I think that's true on many levels, because of many reasons.
Yeah, and it affects your brain.
Right.
It does.
Absolutely.
It makes it hard to think, to function. We were talking earlier too about, you know, how people understand things and the age levels at which information is given and what information age level it should be given, because based on the
like a lot of
knowledge baseline, whatever. Yeah,
a lot of the I think one of the people that they mentioned was who's the guy that wrote Carrie?
Mm.
What's his name?
Stephen King.
Thank you.
Yes, yes.
So Stephen King writes at a 7th grade level, and most large groups or organizations, news media, and other write at a 7th grade level if they want it to be consumed by the largest amount of people.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if he decided to write at a 7th grade level or it's simply that's how it occurred. But yeah, I've always heard that, and I find it interesting.
I think I read one of his first books in 7th grade, so
Yeah.
that would be on par.
Right, absolutely.
No, actually, I was probably a little older than that. I don't think. I know I read The Stand when I was 18, and then read it every year for the next 22 years.
I've never read that, and I've been wanting to actually do a lot of reading, but my life as it is doesn't necessarily lend itself to sitting down and doing. I mean, I've got books. Yeah. I've got books. Boxes of books in my garage that I haven't read. My son, I'm a freak when it comes to books for him.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Boxes and boxes and boxes of books.
I wouldn't go anywhere without a book.
Yeah.
Like everybody, my kids grew up watching me. Like I literally can tuck a book under my arm in my armpit and forget it's there.
Right.
That's how well I function with it.
Right. Well, yeah, when I was a flight attendant, when I lived in Chicago as a flight attendant, I had an hour or more ride on the train to get to the airport.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a book. Now we have our phones and our electronics, but yeah, absolutely.
I don't like reading
I had a
on
book
the phone
on my trip.
like that. I don't like reading a book on the phone like that. It's not big enough. And I don't know, there's just something comforting about holding paper in your hand, flipping pages, But I'm with you. I haven't read for pleasure. Actually, that's not true. I did read a pleasure book last summer. It was a Richard Bach book. But then prior to that, like there was a period of about 10 years where I was just, maybe 15, where I was reading like textbooks. Mm-hmm. And so I got away from reading books for pleasure. But yeah, there's that timepiece to it as well. It's like, if I'm going to sit down and read a book, I need everyone to just leave me alone for the rest of the day.
Right.
So that I can get into it, right? And just immerse myself with it. But yeah, I think that there's a weariness, and, with all these planets that we had retrograde, it sort of was a forced weariness no, we're not quite ready for you to come out yet. And now as the planets are starting to turn direct, it's like we've got sleep in our eyes and the sun kind of hurts. And we can't talk because we haven't used those vocal cords in so long.
I think that at least it's been my experience that a lot of people are talking about crazy-ass dreams, too.
Yes.
So
which reality is the reality?
Right.
That's a big one.
Right. So a friend of mine was just talking about a dream, and dreams are just weird, and it was just one of the normal weird dreams. Mm-hmm. But then she woke up from her dream and talked to her husband, and someone came over, and then she actually woke up from her dream. So
the dream within a dream.
Yes. So those things are happening, and I've had some other people just mention that their dreams are crazy right now. Myself included.
I would be that Neptune retrograde. Right there next to Jupiter.
Well, Jupiter retrograde. Yeah. Both in Pisces.
Our inner world is much more vivid right now than our outer world. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with that, Hey, having a good imagination and the ability to be able to dream is what keeps most kids occupied. And
it worked for me as a kid.
Right? And sometimes, though, it can distort your reality.
Right.
I told you I had a dream, woke up one morning and jumped on my phone, 11:11, to see if, I had to respond. It was like I had a dream I was selling real estate, and then when I woke up, I felt like I needed to send a document only to find out I didn't have that transaction.
Right. It wasn't an actual real estate transaction. It was a dream. Yeah.
Somebody was buying a spirit home. Hope you like it. Still looking for my commission check.
Yeah, did I get paid for that?
Karma credits. That's what I heard. Karma credits. All right, I'll take that too.
So yeah, it's interesting getting yourself grounded and making sure what you are thinking is real is actually real. And that can be exhausting in of itself.
Yeah. And then you've got the whole daytime, occurrences. Like I don't know what this little thing is that's around me, but I'm so tired of it like hovering at my like right ankle, because I swear I keep thinking it's one of the dogs or the cat, and I look down and there's nothing there. But
oh, how funny!
there's something. No, it's not an attachment. It could be trying, but usually I feel that, and then I'm like, be gone.
Right.
Demon, be gone.
Not today, not here.
Right? But that, I don't know, just seeing things at the side of your eyes, that's been going on for a while. But lately it's just been like, you're crowding me. Hello? Bubble.
I need to breathe.
That applies to you. And we've had that happen, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we heat this room up and fill it up with so many people when we're sitting here doing this show. It's just crazy how full it gets. And it's like, if you're not contributing,
you don't need to be here.
Hello?
Well, just today I went to use the restroom.
Yes.
Before we sat down to record this. And it's a public restroom, so it has, the public toilet paper holders, the big oval ones with
Right.
So anyway, I walk into the stall and I turn, and there was toilet paper, a thing of, a small piece of toilet paper that's just hanging off. Someone tore, and it's blowing in the wind, basically. So me turning caused it to move. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? Okay, it's just toilet paper. Because I walked in and no one was in.
Right?
No one was in the bathroom.
Yes.
And so it's interesting, based off of another conversation I had with someone else, it's interesting how we are really being tested in figuring out what is real and what is not, right?
Mm-hmm.
So me turning around, toilet paper moves, I think it's a thing, and it is a thing, but it's just the toilet paper, and it just made me move, and that's the reality, or I made it move, and that's just the reality of it.
Right.
But
we are not alone.
It can be really easy to get involved and see things that aren't there, that really aren't there.
Yep.
See things that aren't there that aren't there in the same state that you are, meaning energetic.
Right.
And understanding the difference. I mean, like, discernment is huge right now.
And I'll just say, you're not crazy.
No.
They've been talking a lot about UFOs.
Mm-hmm.
The Navy is just adamant. They don't give a shit what the White House is saying. They know what they've got recordings
they
of.
released, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's so interesting because, there's part of me that's like, yes. And then there's another part of me that's like, all right, what kind of bulls are they trying to shove down our throats so we won't see what they're really doing this time? Because, I just don't know. It could be either or.
Right.
I'm not saying I don't trust people. You think I'm going to trust my government?
Right.
So anyway, but I do find that so fascinating that we're actually having real conversations again. Now, they were having real conversations back in the 50s because I was hearkening back to reading some stuff about the first. And then we've got Travis, what the heck is his last name? The Fire in the Sky guy that, was abducted. And he was actually, he was up in Heber Overgaard.
Yeah.
But they always say it was near Flag because I think they were out in the woods. Why can I not think of what his last name is? Anyway, Walton. Yes, Walton. Thank you. And, that's still a topic of conversation, up on the rim. But in the 50s, like in, Roswell, all of that, like there was really, if you go back and you read some of the information about what was going on at that time, I kind of don't blame our government for like shutting that conversation down because they were going everywhere. Yeah. It was like, Orson Welles, all over again. They're scaring the hell out of people.
Right.
And so I find it's interesting that, we're actually having this conversation again,
Right.
because, I didn't think that they'd ever admit to this, quite frankly. I know a lot of people that are in MUFON and stuff like that, and they're just like adamant, right? It's like an epic battle between them and the government to get them to, release the documents, release the papers. But it's again, it speaks to all of that, discerning of what's real, what's not real,
Right.
right? And, so the first question is, do they exist or do they not exist? And then the second question becomes, are they friend or foe?
Right.
And then the third request is, are we going to allow them here, or are we
What
going to
do
give
we
them
do
the
about
boot?
it?
Right, exactly.
Well, it's interesting in the work that...
Wait, one more thing.
Yeah.
And it's also an American phenomenon.
Oh, is it?
Most UFO sightings are observed in North America. So, are we making it all up?
Right.
Right?
Right.
I'm sorry, now go ahead.
No, I was going to say that we've talked about this before, but with the work that Sonya and I do, we get introduced to a lot of different experiences
Yeah.
and opinions and even realities. And so one of the things that both she and I have worked on to grow is sitting in the space where someone is believing what they believe.
Right? It's true for you.
Right. And really being in that space. And it's an interesting experience to be in, because then you're like, well, what do I believe?
Right.
What do I believe? I mean...
My ear just went, woo. And it's 11:18, by the way. Just saying. But my ear is starting again. Okay, keep going.
So the question is, what do you believe in general, and what do you do with it? How does it make you make decisions in your life? How does it affect other people? I mean, because when it comes to beliefs, it's just what we believe, and we can believe anything.
Right.
Literally.
Yeah.
Anything.
It's true.
And
most do.
Yeah, you can find just about anyone that will believe some
Anything,
idea.
right.
Yes. So that whole what is reality and what is not reality.
Mm-hmm.
But then, what reality where? So I'm totally going, so what's after the universe once the universe ends? Because the universe is always expanding. What is it expanding into? What is there before the universe is there? Because there has to be something, if it's going to expand into it, that means something's there. So what's real and what's not real? What are we talking about? My life, your life, the combined experience of the United States, the world, this dimension.
I was going to say, then we get into timelines.
Right.
Are we in this timeline? Is it a holograph? Is it a sequence? Is it a vertical line or horizontal line? Is it
Is it a string?
Is it a string?
Yes.
Is it a web?
And so
many questions.
This is where my head lives. Not all the time, not 24 hours a day, but when I sit down to think about it,
Right.
What truly is reality?
Exactly. And within that, what does that then mean to you?
Right.
And I think those are some okay, so maybe not everybody's going this existential.
Right, and I get that.
But for a lot of us, once the questioning begins, eventually you find yourself at the corner of this and that.
Here and there.
Right? Time, no time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the quality of time.
Right.
Because if we are conscious co-creators, then that means that we are creating whatever illusion, paradigm, time construct that we're in.
Yeah.
And is it of good quality or is it of poor quality?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because I believe that, you can change anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a question of timing.
Well, and I have felt that, yes, ever since I was like a teen,
Mm-hmm.
and having that conversation with my mother, and
Yep.
she just not
Right.
being there with that.
Right. Because
right?
it's very fixed. It's very, you know, there's you can't do anything about it. You've got a problem. Well, there's nothing you can do about that. Well, maybe not in this moment,
Right,
right? Because that's a question of time.
right.
But to say that it's so that it can't be changed,
Like, never.
the Grand Canyon is in constant change,
Right,
and yet it's a pile of rocks,
right.
right? I mean, it doesn't get more unmovable than that, and yet it's ever changing,
Right.
right? It's like, I know that's kind of a weird example, but I think about that as people. Some people are the Grand Canyon.
It just takes longer, but it happens.
Right, but eventually erosion will wear away, and there will be change. And then for others, it's everything changing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Constant change,
Mhm.
never ending change. You can't make plans because
Right.
things shift and change.
Right.
That's the life of a real estate agent. I'd love to attend your class, but if I get a call from somebody, I'm ditching you.
Right. I may not be there.
I'm taking the lead.
Yeah.
So that's a big, and it's so interesting because we had a lot of things that were in Taurus, and Taurus just hated change. Like
Mhm.
Taurus just doesn't like change, right? And then now we're moving into, we've moved through Gemini, which is all
Everything
air.
is changed.
Everything is changed. And then we're getting ready to come in and settle now that we're in Cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like, where I'm sitting with it is, it's like, okay, there was all this resistance, and then there was all this fluidity, flux,
Mm-hmm.
and now we get to go sit in our houses, our nests, our crab shells, and play with it,
Mm-hmm.
right? What are we going to do? Who are we going to do it with? Why are we doing it? And if you're not there yet, right? Like if you're not like, okay, good, I've got my things. I'm going to go sit down, and I got a cuppa, and I got a comfy chair, and I'm just going to go through all of this. Then if you're not there, it's just like, huh? Wait. I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
There's this.
I have things.
I have too many things. There's this quote that I had on my social media.
Yes.
The world around you is a reflection of your reaction to the world around you. From the Dalai Lama. And so the world around you, you react however you react. You create the world around you. You react however you react. You create the world around you. What came first, the chicken or the egg? And I find it interesting. I have mentioned before, I believe, that my son was diagnosed with autism. And when he was first diagnosed with autism, I found this book called The Reason I Jump.
Yes.
And that was the first book I read, and it was written by a then 13-year-old autistic boy, just explaining his experience. It wasn't really a story.
You're right.
It was explaining. I mean, he gave details and examples, but it was just explaining his experience. And I thought it was just an amazing book. And I saw that they released it as a documentary where they use a lot of his writings and speak to other people who, either autistic people or the parents that are in their life, or the people that are in their life with them, and support them and care for them. And I didn't mention that all these people are nonverbal.
Yeah.
In the sense that they can't, doesn't mean that they can't communicate.
Right.
It just means that they're nonverbal, and they talk about other ways that they communicate and express themselves. And it goes to the fact that their reality is very different than many other people's reality.
Yeah.
And so I have been sitting with that again,
Yeah.
right? Because this isn't a new concept for me, but it's like constantly repeating and introducing itself to me in different ways. Probably all of my life, honestly, understanding that people's reality is whatever it is that they're having in the moment.
Yeah.
And that's their reality, and my reality isn't better or worse. It's probably different.
Right. Might be inconvenient for me at times, their reality.
Right.
And, you know,
Right.
that's my problem.
Yes. Yes.
Because you get there, you're like, what world? What color is the sky in your world, right? And yet, you know,
Right now it's
they,
pink.
they
Thank
have
you.
their sky, you have your sky, everybody calm down. Yeah, no, I've actually got that on my list to watch this week, because I am, well, you know, always in support of your son, but I was fascinated by it. The trailer really moved me, and
Right.
it just, you know, being a child that was very misunderstood growing up, you know, being called weird, being called, you know, crazy, being called, and I don't mean like crazy like you're crazy, like
Right.
we're very concerned for you, we think you're crazy. I was fortunate I didn't have that experience, but I know a lot of people that did.
Right.
In fact, I know a lot of
absolutely.
people, peers, you know, children of the 60s and 70s that were actually, you know, put in psychiatric treatment because of their,
Because they were so weird.
they were so different,
They
right?
were so crazy, whatever. Yeah.
And, you know, for a lot of us, we just, came to be okay with that. Yes, I'm a different brand of crazy from the rest of y'all. But that's okay. I like my brand of crazy. My flavor is my flavor.
Right.
And then growing up as an adult, you know, and having to sort of, you know, especially if you're in like jobs, the corporate world, things like that, where you've got to conform or fit in. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it. I mean, I did for a number of years. And I know that if I talked to people 30 years ago, they would have a very different impression of who I am than talking to people that I know today. And that's not just because of time, that's because of the changes that I went through in accepting myself
Yeah.
as I was in my non-conforming ways.
Right.
And as I'm sitting here at 55 today, I'm discovering that I'm probably on some spectrum of something, which isn't anything except just, you know, I resemble that.
I told my
But it's
sister-in-law.
not a label.
I told my sister-in-law I had menopause ADHD.
It's true. See? And then it could just be that.
and you know, and maybe it'll go away and maybe it won't, and it is what it is.
Right.
But it is now when it didn't used to be in the past. It absolutely is now.
And attention deficit and autism in adult women is very different from what most people would think of as autistic or attention deficit.
It is. It's becoming
in their definition,
right.
because in women it just shows up, you know, differently.
Right.
In some cases, it can be perfectionism. In some cases, there's just a lot of different things.
Right.
And so, the more that I learn and discover about myself, you know, part of me is like, okay, that's great. So.
Right.
Right, like that might have helped 30 years ago, you know, or maybe 40, but okay, fine. All right, now I know if anybody asks, I can go look to this. But I also found it very interesting in that I think there's a lot more of us that are like that than we realize.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing. I mean, how can I put it? I was always weird as a child. And the majority of the people in my childhood, like my friends, they thought I was weird, but I was an acceptable weird.
Yeah.
And that's basically because I didn't tell anyone the shit that was actually going on in my head. And, you know, what I saw, what I experienced, what I felt, what I thought about. So I was an acceptable kind of weird. And so I never denied myself. At least, I mean, I'm sitting here looking back at my childhood, but I am still becoming clear that there were things that I did change, alter, or about myself to make me fit into the, white conservative Midwest group that I grew up in. And
see, I just say to be like the humans.
Okay, well, that works too. that works too. To be like the humans, as I've often referred to humans as them. So
right.
Yeah,
those people.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm here.
To do this podcast. That's why you're here.
Da-da-da!
Now you know.
So yeah, and so it's interesting because I mean I've gone through therapy. I've dealt with traumas. I've dealt with. And I really feel like there was really important and great work done. And I still am, once again, becoming aware of the fact that maybe I covered up more than I was even aware of because it was because I was so different from the get-go that I just did it. Being intuitive and being psychic, I'm looking at the people, even as a baby, I'm looking at the people going, they can't. So we can't do that.
Yeah, no, it's the truth. And the things that you pick up and realize, okay, don't behave that way because that way nets this result. Right? And so it's almost like you don't even have to do the things yourself and then figure out that it's wrong. Being observant, you can look around you and go, oh yeah. And then if it's like before the age of like 6 or 7, a lot of that stuff you don't even realize that you did because it was just foundation. No, this is the way we're supposed to behave here as, in these meat suits. And then you get older and you go, wait a minute, where did that come from? And then you have to go all the way back.
Yeah.
And then unpack it and then just be like, wow.
So I
didn't even know that was a thing.
Right. So that's the interesting thing that I'm sitting at. I mean, I've always been psychic. I'm meditating as a child, tarot cards, astrology. I have always talked about alternate universes, talked about, different realities. This has always been a thing for me. Always. And I am still excavating possibilities that maybe there were still things. And so if I'm sitting in that place, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
All the people who came in similar to me and had to bury it so deeply, or maybe not even me, just came in so very different.
Yeah.
And had to bury it so deeply. I am sitting just in awe of this whole experience for myself. It's so interesting.
And there are some now that say that we are going the wrong direction in this inclusiveness, and this allowance and acceptance of. Although it's really not, it's just a different allowance because we're still disallowing and not accepting certain.
Right.
I mean, to me, it's like it's a wash. I don't see any progression here. I'm sorry, I don't. Because whenever you marginalize or you cast out one segment of society for whatever reason, I don't care how valid it is, you're still separating. You're still, putting us. It's an us versus them.
Well, it's absolutely a work in progress, and we're stumbling falling and stumbling and getting
Which is why I think we all need to give each other some grace.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, we need to continue to work forward with this, but let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater while we're doing it, please.
Yeah.
And what's so interesting about this whole conversation is the final death throes of this Mercury retrograde. And because what did we have at the end in the shadow? We had the final and third and final Mercury square Neptune happening.
Right.
So why are we having all of these big I wonder thoughts? Well, that would be Neptune. Thank you very much. And then you got Jupiter right there that's going, yeah, go big, baby, go big. You're thinking too small, girlfriend.
But
you
then
need to
it's
think
backing
bigger.
out.
Yes.
To come back.
Right. And how do you communicate and express that?
Right.
How do you think about that? How do you wrap your mind around that, right? This is exactly where we're supposed to be. We're talking about So if you're having this, I think I'm losing my mind, you're not.
You're not.
It's just the third square
Right.
of Mercury.
You're not. You're not losing your mind and sitting here and trying to figure out what is reality and what is not reality, and what you're going to believe and what you're not going to believe, and what you're going to do with it is all very, very real.
It reminds me of when my first husband's mother passed away. And she lived with us until she died. And then after she died, we had to sort through her things.
Mm-hmm.
And she had her bedroom
Mm-hmm.
in our house, which was kind of like a hoarder. And then she had 3 storage units.
Wow.
3. One was up in Sacramento and 2 were down in Riverside.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to empty all 3 of these storage units and then go through the process of sorting through everything that she'd had in storage for at least 15, if not 20 years. She paid for this stuff to keep it.
Wow.
Can I tell you how many boxes of plastic grocery bags we found?
Really?
My children, I did not have to buy school supplies for my children until 2 of them were out of high school.
Wow.
Yeah. So this whole eclipse retrograde season gave us a bunch of stuff. And now we got to sort through it all.
Right.
And that can make for some confusion.
It can be challenging work.
Right.
It's scary.
Mm-hmm.
And really
make you go, what the?
Right. I'll say it. What the fuck? I'll quote my son.
Right? Most brilliant story ever. You have to share that story. We're going to interrupt for a second because you got to hear this story. So her 10-year-old, nonverbal.
Yes. My 10-year-old nonverbal son is in my room, just sitting on his bed, hanging out. He's got his whatever game, electronic device with him. And I'm in the living room and I hear, what the fuck? And I'm like... So I get up and I walk to my room and I peek around the corner and there's Nolan sitting on his bed. I'm like, what are you doing, honey? He looks at me. He's like, what the fuck? I'm like, I don't. Wow. Okay. So, and there was a problem with his game.
Okay.
So I needed to help him with it.
Right.
So, yeah, my mostly nonverbal son articulated it clearly, loudly, and absolutely appropriately.
What do you do with that?
Go, Nolan.
Right?
You cheer him on.
Right.
You ask any parent who's had a child that's had troubles verbalizing things. Yeah, you're like.
And for those who go, well, you shouldn't cuss in front of your children. Whatever. You know, my kids. I dealt with this in the 90s.
Yeah.
So I have sons. It is, in fact, boys don't read as well or as much as girls. And at least in the past. I'm not saying today. I'm just saying this is, go Google it. There's studies that show this.
Right, absolutely.
Anyway, I wanted my children to be readers. I'm a voracious reader, and I wanted my children to be readers. And so I encouraged reading. And I didn't care what they read. Well, they were kids in the 90s, so it was Goosebumps.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember there was a parent that said to me one time, you let your kids read those books? They're so dark. I'm like, look, I don't care what they read.
Right, they're reading.
They could read their dad's penthouse he's got hidden behind the bathroom. I really, as long as they're not looking at the pictures, I don't care.
Yeah.
I just want them to read.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I might have had an issue with the penthouses. But everything else, it was like, no, if they're engaged in their reading, then that's all that matters to me. And, sometimes, again, we're going back to what we were talking about before. Where do these things stem from? Who is the they that is going to judge you? Because you cheered your son for saying, what the fuck?
Right.
Or I encouraged my children to read dark, occult, spooky, scary books.
Right.
And why do I not express my weirdness and all of my wonderful dreams and thoughts and ideas? Because They're mine. I have as much right to say, I had a dream that we lived in a world with a purple sky. It was cool.
That is cool.
It rained grape licorice.
Sweet.
We're learning to recognize that what is appropriate and okay for us is appropriate and okay for us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still part of this great individuation. But I also feel like it's also part of becoming more in tune and in and in common space with the collective.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we can accept ourselves, it makes it easier to accept others.
Absolutely.
Because we don't bias it against our own prejudices and judgments and fears. Right. It all boils down to fear. It always boils down to fear. Like at the end of the day, you give me any problem, I'm gonna rat track it back to fear.
Absolutely.
Because
that's it.
That's it.
That's just
not an issue like my car won't start. Okay,
right.
Unless you're afraid because your car won't start. That's a different kind of problem. I'm talking about the mental game here,
right?
Or the emotional game.
The emotional game. Yeah, absolutely.
And so, it's okay if you're confused, Sonya.
Yes, it is, Piperlyne.
Be in that confusion. Be with it. Explore it. Ask yourself whatever you can. If you have the wherewithal.
If nothing else, just ask what the fuck.
Why can't I even think? What happened to my words?
Where did my words go? Yes.
Oh, it's so funny, and yet it's so frustrating. Like, we can do this here, and it's okay, because we're just on the radio, and, you listen, you don't listen, whatever.
Whatever.
But I can't show up like this on the job, I gotta kind of get my wits about me, and so somehow I managed to rally it and get it together, and, look, like I know what the hell I'm doing. And then immediately as it's done, it's like, okay, you did good, here's Dunscap. I got the stupid hat on again. Cancel.
Hallelujah. Oh my goodness.
So, this summer, I think we're still in the throes. Well, and we've talked about and we've seen too. It's going to be 2023 before we really kind of get a sense for where it is that we were all headed.
Right.
Through this, right?
We're still in the throes.
We're still in the weeds, yeah.
Absolutely.
We are. We're still in the weeds. So if you're feeling like, just beyond frustrated, just know you're not alone. You're in the weeds. We're all in the weeds. We've all got a little bit of cabin fever. And you're not alone.
Right.
I think that's the biggest thing. You're not alone. If you feel vulnerable, if you feel frustrated, if you feel confused, if you feel fearful, whatever. Or maybe you feel happy and grounded and satisfied. Great.
Go you.
Right? Appreciate it. Soak it up. Soak up.
Take that shit in, yeah.
Because, don't know how long that will last right now. Maybe it just hasn't come around to your side of the chart yet.
That could be.
But we're all going to get this. And we talked about that, I think, last week or the week before, right? The beginning of the year was the cardinal signs. The middle is us mutable ones. That's it. And then the end of the year is going to be for the fixed ones.
Right.
So, for you cardinal and mutable signs, wrap it up. Find a good hidey hole, because nobody wants to be around a fixed sign with force change. Just saying.
Thank you. So, FYI, for those who may not be clear on what a fixed sign is, it's Taurus.
Yes.
It is Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. Those are our fixed signs. That so you've got fire, earth, air, water. And those are the fixed signs that may struggle as time goes on.
And isn't that interesting? Because those, like Taurus, absolutely. Aquarius, yeah. Leo, okay, yeah, I guess. I would have thought Aries, but okay.
Well, Leo has an issue that they need to be right.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Like a child.
Right. They need to be. It's very important to their beingness to be correct. And more so, I mean, like Virgo, like wants to be right, but it's a different.
And Capricorn thinks they're right.
But it's a different energy. Capricorn will just change shit to make it right. Virgo will be like, okay, well, I can look at it that way, and maybe that
I can go back, perfect it, bring it back to you.
we can.
This is just a rough draft right here.
Right.
And then Taurus is like, it was right from the beginning. I don't know what y'all people are talking about.
But not being right is a threat.
And then what was the last one? Libra?
No, Scorpio. Scorpio, fixed water.
You know what? If it's a Scorpio, okay, you're right. Don't kill me. You're right.
Yeah. Scorpio, you'll be like, you bet.
Yeah, whatever. Let's do it your way. I'm all right with that. Don't sting me, please.
Thank you for your time, dear Scorpio.
My Scorpios out there laughing now. You know it's true.
Scorpio, you nod and smile. Yes, yes.
You just gotta
as you back away slowly.
Slowly. And don't ever break the eye contact. Right? Keep eye contact.
Oh, my goodness.
Show no fear.
Show no fear. No fear at all. So, yes, those are the four fixed signs. So if you do have those prominent in your chart, especially sun, moon, or ascendant, especially, or if you have a stellium, which is 3 or more planets in one of those signs, you might find that you'll be facing more challenges at the end of the year.
And possibly North Node as well, because
North
that
Node
is
could be,
moving towards your future.
Right.
As opposed to the South Node, which is, and because our South Node currently right now is in Sagittarius, it's all about the I am. So yes, we are all taking it all very personally right now. That's what we're supposed to do. But not in the sense like you think.
Right.
It's not like take it personally because your butt hurt. Take that stuff and put it inside of you.
Right.
Deal with you.
Take it personally and look at what's going on and go internal.
Yes.
Internal.
Find your I am.
Right. Within you.
Instead of the you are. How about that? I'm going to make a t-shirt.
I am.
You are. I'm loving the singing bowl today. Well, I don't believe it. It's 58 minutes. We actually made a whole hour-long episode.
We did. And as soon as we turn this off, we're going to be like, blah, 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 blah.
And that's when we just give a nod of the tip of the hat to our spirit teams for helping us out. But they really need to, because they're the ones that told us to sit here and do this in the first place.
So here we are. Better help.
Right? Well, we'd appreciate it anyway. In case they're Scorpio. I don't need no Scorpio spirit team.
No.
I laugh, though, because my Neptune is in Scorpio, and it's retrograde. So this retrograde is like, you hit like a girl.
Whatever.
Neptune retrograded Pisces.
Right. Right.
Oh, lordy. So I hope we made some sort of sense. I don't know. I'll listen to it when I edit it and decide whether or not we ever air this thing or not. So if you don't hear this, it's because I just deemed it not worthy. And if you do hear it, then you hear it.
Then the blather was worth it.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, thank you very much, Piperlyne. I appreciate being able to sit across this mic from you every week. It's just been, I'm glad we're doing this.
It has been rather amazing.
Yes, it has. If for no one else but us.
Right.
It's been amazing for us.
We have been enjoying ourselves.
Immensely. And each other.
You do you.
Oh, and on that note, until next week,
Yes.
hope you had a wonderful 4th of July if you're in North America. And if you're not, I just hope you had a wonderful day.
Take care of you. We'll talk to you soon.